There's nothing particularly fantastic or talkable or YouTube content worthy of the Nissan Pathfinder. It's just a boring tissue box. It starts and runs. However, whilst that sounds like a criticism, it's actually probably an endorsement at the same time, because it starts and runs every time. There's very little that goes wrong. There's not a long list of common problems on these. It's just a really good, reliable family vehicle with very little in the way of features and accessories that go wrong. It's a Nissan Pathfinder. Turns out it's a V6, not a 4-cylinder. It's an automatic CVT, which when the CVT first came out, I was highly critical of. If you look at some of our earlier review videos of the Nissan range and the Infinity range, we were giving the CVT a hard time. This is going back 5, 8, maybe even 10 years. Having said that, obviously 10 years down the path now, we've not seen a single problem with the CVT transmissions that Nissan brought out. Doesn't mean there aren't any, but what I thought was going to be a total disaster for the brand, because I've got all the answers, turns out I was wrong. So this is a Nissan Pathfinder. It is I think it's a 2017, let me check. Can you tell that we've done our preparation prior to 2013? So yeah, 10 years ago. 2013 Nissan Pathfinder. There's really not a lot to talk about. It's a little bit boring. It's just a shoebox of a car, 5-seater SUV, V6, got plenty of torque, plenty of get up and go, automatic. It basically is just the mum and pa car of the day. Whilst that sounds like a criticism, and it is to some extent, it's very hard to make promotional videos about vehicles that have features of F all. It also means that there's not much wrong with them. There's not many common problems. The problem with technology and some of these great features like rain sensing windscreens and sunroofs that open themselves and cars that will do a barrel roll on demand, when those systems stop working, they're expensive to maintain and repair. So this particular car doesn't have any of that stuff, which sucks if you're trying to be a salesman trying to sell it to someone and say, you need this in your life, you need a car that's going to sharpen your pencils for you. But it actually makes a really good, reliable second-hand car. So this one is actually up for sale. Okay, so features that are worth mentioning. Tow bar doesn't sound like that much of a new big thing, but particularly if this is something good for a family, if you've got a small boat or a small caravan, I would not recommend using this vehicle though if you're towing some of that bigger stuff. If you're pulling more than probably 2.5 ton, this isn't the car for that. But this is perfect for small box trailers, small caravans, camper vans, boat trailers, jet skis, all of that sort of nonsense. The other beauty of this is quite a big boot space when you've got the back row down. When you've got the back row up, you lose obviously a lot of the boot space, but it then makes this small, quite compact SUV a 7-seater. Getting into the back row is obviously not ideal. You'd want to have your older kids, not putting infants in the very back. The negative obviously is you then lose the boot space. The positive affiliated with it is you don't feel like you're driving a big 7-seater SUV. It actually drives quite nicely like a Corolla or a Suzuki Swift. Small, nippy, nimble. You don't feel like you're driving a semi-trailer when you've got this, and obviously able to hold 7 kids. The other feature that's worth mentioning, which most consumers won't be aware of, it is a 4-wheel all-wheel drive. Sorry, it's not all-wheel, it's 4-wheel drive. So if you are using it for some mild off-road work, beach, camping, gravel, that kind of stuff, it is made for it. So it's actually a perfect vehicle if you do have a young family, you're fond of camping holidays, which are something that is becoming more popular right now with cost of living going up. Basically trying to convince you to buy this one. This one's up for sale. Have we mentioned that? 7-seater automatic V6 for sale. White with bird poo. Okay, so I'll get you to zoom in after I finish talking, but this is how you access what we call third row. So these do all fold up. It's got a whole bunch of stuff that I've gone and ruined it. And that's how you get into the back row. So that's my point of, you don't want to buy this if you've got infants and you need 7 seats. If you're running a Swedish orphanage, this isn't the car for you. But if you have the need for the back row, it's perfect. But you obviously need the kids to be able and capable of climbing in the car themselves. I'll show you the boot space too with the back seats up. Down control. So yeah, you lose obviously a huge amount of boot space when you've got the back seat up. And your spare tyres underneath the car, which is actually not that uncommon these days. Okay, so in here, Same thing, there's not a huge amount going on, which is good because things can't go wrong, things generally go on track. A few great things, obviously this has probably the best air conditioning system of any vehicle I've ever driven, and I've been in the auto industry now pushing 20 years. If you need an air conditioning system that's up to par, this is definitely it. Alright, so pretty much in summary, there's not a huge amount of features and things to talk about here. This is a pretty good, reliable, everyday vehicle. There's not a huge amount of problems, but there's also not a huge amount of features. You're not going to win any awards with it, you're not going to turn any heads. If you rock up at a private school, you drop your kids off, no one's going to notice, or if they are going to notice, they're going to notice because it's not a Maserati. Your 18-year-old son is not going to want to borrow this. There's just nothing flash about it, but it's very safe, it's very reliable, cost of maintenance is quite low, very little in the way of common problems, relatively cheap to insure, very good ANCAP rating. It's pretty much everything you want for a family vehicle. If you're quite content to just have a shoebox in the front of your house for doing a job from getting from A to B, it's actually the perfect car if that's what you're after.